So continuing our look at fielding analytics, let's review again what's wrong with fielding percentage. Remind you the basic range factor formulas that come from box score level data. This is the career fielding statistics of both Derek Jeter and Ozzie Smith. And as we noted before, the fielding percentages of both Derek Jeter and Ozzie Smith are the same, but range factors are very different, especially compared to the league average when those players were playing. Ozzie Smith is above average and Derek Jeter is below average by these simple measures of range factor. And even when recalculated as range factor per 9, it showed this discrepancy between the fielding range factors of these two players, even though their fielding percentages were the same. So now let's look at more data from Ozzie Smith and Derek Jeter. This is from play-by-play data. What we have here are the games played and then the plate appearances. Plate appearances here are defined as the number of plate appearances that occurred while each of these defenders was at shortstop. These are essentially the number of times there's ever a chance for a fielder to make a play. This column here shows the percentage of these plate appearances that were by right-handed batters. Same thing over here with Ozzie Smith. The next column is the percentage of those plate appearances where the ball was put into play. So out of that plate appearance, some were strikeouts, some were walks, some were home runs. All the rest were considered balls in play. You can see the percentage of balls in play for every year Derek Jeter played and Ozzie Smith played. Now note this discrepancy. There's a difference here during Derek Jeter's time and Ozzie Smith's time. This 76% versus 81% looks very different. And it's mostly because of the increased strikeout rates. Increased strikeout percentages by pitchers have led to decreased balls in play. So over time, strikeout rates were going up and balls in play were going down for all the plate appearances. Now, continuing through this look at the data here from Baseball Reference, the next column is percentage of these plate appearances, percentage of the plate appearances here in this column that were ground ball. So ground ball percentages, and they're pretty close for both Ozzie Smith and Derek Jeter. The next column is actually the number of balls fielded. And this is one of the essential measures of range. How many balls fielded given the ground ball opportunities, the balls in play opportunities, and then the handedness of the batters and the pitchers versus all the plate appearances where that fielder was actually in the play. And you can see this big discrepancy between Jeter and Smith. There are many more balls fielded by Ozzie Smith, over 2,000 more than Derek Jeter. And he did it in less plate appearances, 99,700 plus versus 91,800 plus. This just simple look at the balls fielded versus the plate appearances where that fielder was actually on the field shows very clearly that even though Derek Jeter had more plate appearances and more opportunities to get fielded balls, he had more than 2,000 less than Ozzie Smith. But there's some extenuating circumstances like we've talked about. There's the balls in play opportunity. There were less balls in play during Derek Jeter's time. This is what we talked about before, the comparison there. The ground balls in play were about the same. Now finally, the last column here is the percentage of balls fielded that were made into outs. So look how similar these numbers are. These percentages are very similar. So the number of balls fielded made into outs by both Jeter and Smith were essentially the same. The big picture of looking at these data is to understand that we can be more precise in our measures of range, measure exactly the number of balls fielded by players if we have play-by-play data. So play-by-play data really improves the precision of our measures of range. And there's no doubt that data like these, just the numbers of balls fielded versus the plate appearances, even adjusted for all the things we've talked about, show that Ozzie Smith's range was so much better than Derek Jeter's range. We can see that from the data. Go to Baseball Reference and look at these data, study these data, observe these data, and let your natural curiosity generate your own questions. So the challenge to all the learners is to share with us on the forums what you've observed and what kind of questions you've asked.